As unique gifts from Creator, our children carry the fire of our Anishinaabe ancestors within their spirits, and they look to their families, their communities, and nations to feed that fire, embracing them and protecting them as the next generation of parents and elders here on our sacred lands. Caring for our children gives meaning and purpose to our lives. The traditional circles of care were disrupted with the kidnapping of thousands of children by the residential schools, and we still suffer today from that terrible trauma. And today, that disruption continues through colonial child welfare systems. Child and family service agencies continue to tear families apart, alienating children from their Indigenous roots and leaving many of our youth on the street to fend for themselves. Today, there are more than 3 times as many Indigenous children in care than there ever were in the residential schools. In Manitoba, 90% of children in care are Indigenous, and a large majority are placed in non-Indigenous homes. The call for reconciliation demands radical change. We need to take back our children. We must rebuild those circles of care according to our traditional values of love, respect, and truth, looking to our elders for guidance and utilizing our ceremonies, natural medicines, and healing practices. Peguis Child and Family Services and the Sun Lodge Village have formed a partnership to do just that. Since 2017, they're in Minopama-Disawin. Here they can return to the land, meet with the elders, discover their true identity, and find healing through ceremony and spiritual guidance. This is their story, a story of feeding that sacred fire for the children, for the next 7 generations.
And a child is not protected by law, by government, or by rules, regulations. A child is protected by love. The Creator has not put in place any institution. He has not put in place, any politics, and even religion, is not something that the Creator has put in place.
My name is Sunman. I'm from the Eagle clan, and I'm a white horse warrior. Receiving that name, Sunman, is the first part of one's journey. So many of our children are being denied that opportunity and that truth about who they are. There's too much protecting the child from the truth, protecting the child from being raised properly. Our children are dying. Our children are growing up not knowing who they are. Their grandparents knew who they are. Their great-grandparents knew who they were, and they were strong people. We're definitely waiting and ready to play our part. We're ready to work. The Spirit says it'll unfold. Just keep doing what you're doing. Because as you do what you do, we're on the other side.
I'm a mother of 4, grandmother of 26, and great-grandmother of 16. I'm retired from the federal government after 37 years of employment. At the present time, I'm the chair of the Peguis Child and Family Services, and I have been there for 26 plus years. I had an experience with a young man that came into my home. So I asked him if he was from Peguis, and he said yes, but he said, I'm in care. So I asked him, I said, what is it like being a child in care? And he said, it's a very lonely life. He said, you don't feel like you belong anywhere. So you don't feel loved and you don't feel like you belong anywhere. As a residential school survivor, I knew what it was like to be taken away from your parents and not have that freedom to see them whenever you want. And it is very lonely. And I thought if I could make a difference somehow with these children in care, I would certainly do my best to try to help. And when I understand spirit, I believe it was spirit that gave me that courage to stand up and say, why don't you try our own way of life? You've tried everything else. It's not working for our people. So we decided to try it. So far, we're getting a lot of good response from the clients and from the workers, because we want all those children to be returned to their parents. We want all those children to be home, because I grew up in a home too with alcohol, and it didn't matter what my parents did. I wanted to be with them. I didn't want to be anywhere else. And so I'm sure every child feels that. So our purpose is now to, instead of taking the child out of the home, is putting those supports in the home to help the parents with whatever they need to keep that child in the home.
How bonjour, Nidishnakas, bald eagle woman from the Eagle clan, white buffalo warrior. My English name is Clement Hornbrook. I am the executive director for Peguis Child and Family Services. I know in my heart our children need to find their identity. We need to light the fire so that their spirits can thrive. And I could look back and I can see that we failed. We failed our children. We failed our youth. We failed our families. We failed our community. But we know that contemporary programs, they only touch a little bit on what it is our people have to deal with. And because of our history, the many atrocities that have happened to our people, it's going to take much more than a parenting program to foster that healing. And our teachings don't limit or marginalize or classify who we are. Our teachings are based on the 7 teachings, and our responsibilities to provide that love, that respect, that humility, that courage, and many more teachings to our children. Coming full circle now, we know that there's not much out there other than this lodge that is going to be able to facilitate that healing and their journey. And you'll hear from our community members that have participated how important that was. You'll hear from our leaders how the lodge, just coming to the land, touched them.
We're not going to heal if we're always scared of the bowing. We're always scared of truth, eh? That's why we can't go forward. We're scared of the truth. But that's what truth sets us free, right? It did for me, right? The truth about what happened to my grandparents, the truth what happened to my mother, the truth what I had to go through, the truth how I had to parent my children. It's all truth, eh? Trying to live in truth. It's very hard. It's a very hard way to live in a society that was built for you to fail as an Aboriginal person. Because this society wasn't built for us to succeed. It was built to oppress and to make sure we failed. Mm-hmm. And they succeeded, right, for a while. And then, now we're back now where we're bringing our truth back and saying this is the way, right? This is how we have to heal and move forward. We can't be scared of the truth. We can't be afraid to speak it. We can't be afraid to hear it. Or we can't change. We can't grow, eh?
I really truly believe what we're doing is the direction that we need to go in. what we've been doing is not working. And for some of the families, I feel like they're being damaged more by what we're doing and the system that we're using. Our children are our purpose. And, you know, we get up every day because of our children. And it made me think, like, okay, those families, those parents that don't have their children, well, why are they so bad? Because we've taken their purpose. We've, like, how can they be motivated, right? Like, it just hit me, and I just thought, we're doing this backwards.
One thing that bothers me is when you have to take the kids away from the family, like how are they supposed to be together if they're not together, kind of thing. How are they supposed to learn and learn to be, like, raise your family correctly?
We are nothing without our children. We need our children. They inspire us. They give us that strength. They give us that courage. They light our fire to continue to work for them.
And so now there's a change in that the family services, have taken the initiative, have taken that step, that we can see, there's a better way to work with our children, that our children, need to spend time with their own families, that our children need to be raised, with their own families, whether, it's be their kids or grandparents or whatever. That's where, this all of this is leading to. By coming, to the lodges, by coming to the ceremonies, those things, are just going to become stronger. And more family services, I'm sure, are going to hear about this, learn about this, and they're going to want the same thing. They're going to get involved, and it's going to grow.
There's a good thing really happening now. CFS has come through the door now, and they've reached out. They've been a part of it enough that they want to see maybe more how we can incorporate the way for the children and their families that are broken. And as we move along with that, again, we turn to the pipe, we turn to the fire, we turn to the ceremony, because that's where the answers come from. We're the human side of it. We perform the ceremony and the act, and we reach out to Spirit. Okay, how do we move along here? And that's where it's all coming from.
Why this traditional program works? It's not a program, it's a lifestyle. Families in the past lived this life. They were healthy. They didn't have pains that we have now because they used all natural stuff and they depended on the earth, Mother Earth, and the Creator. So that's why I find when our families come here, they learn who they are. They go back to our lifestyle as Aboriginal people to be proud. And when they use the medicines make them feel alive. That coming to ceremonies and names, because you need your name when Creator calls you, He'll call you. And our colors and that, they make us, like for me, my colors make me happy. Our families need to come together to be whole again. And I really believe the spirituality part is the part that we're lacking. I feel that working with the Sun Lodge, our families are going to connect more to know who they are, to know their roles as a parent, that our children are gifts. And if you don't have that teaching, because we grew up, because of residential school, there's separation, they don't know how to parent, they don't know how to love your kids, they're afraid to love their kids because it might be wrong because of what they received in residential school or adopted out into different communities. So the Sun Lodge and all the teachings should teach you that love is okay. You could love your children. You don't have to be afraid to show that love and all that because they are gifts. And our families that are suffering with addictions, like they need to know to remove that addiction, that spiritual part they're missing needs to be the teachings here. There are 7 teachings. That will build them up and make them stronger.
And with CFS involving the families and the children, it's a really big step forward in terms of like the children being away from their parents for whatever reason it may be. They'll have a better understanding of who they are personally, the way I see the ceremonies and different teachings with the parents and the children that are working with or involved with CFS, it's something that's been missing in many homes. Something not forgotten, but something missing. And with CFS being able to offer different workshops, different programs that involve those teachings, those ceremonies, it's really gonna strengthen the families and give them a better understanding of not only of their way of life, but on how to bring up the children.
I've been working with CFS for not quite a year, but as a grassroots person working with them, I can only go by what I feel, because that's what grassroots people are about, is, you know, that spiritual connection and understanding of everything. But I guess first of all, you know, I would like to say how I feel that it all came about was having myself had my grandchildren taken away from CFS, and they were living with their mother. And as soon as that happened, we turned, you know, to our ceremonies, and we got them back probably within a couple of weeks. But when that happened, it was very traumatic, and it was very eye-opening as well, because it was like a whole, seeing the bigger picture of not just my grandchildren, not just people that I knew in my community, but what it was like for our people to have their children taken away, and some never ever return. And I always believe that, you know, everything is always meant to be. And so I prayed so hard on how we could help, because your children are your purpose in your life. Your children are the reason that you get up every day. I have 7 children, and when I became a mother, you know, I wanted to be a better person. I wanted to be the best person that I could be because of those children. So if you can imagine, when they're taken away, then you're taking away people's purpose in life, to want to have a better life, to want to be a better example. And so I can say this, you know, now that all of that has come to pass, that it was a good experience, as hard as it was. But I believe that everything that happened, you know, in my life personally, all of the challenges and you know, the different heartbreaks, you know, is what makes you stronger in your life.
You know, and it was a challenging time, you know, to have to try and go and, you know, to get our grandsons back and to deal with that system. You know, it really showed us, you know, how tough it can be, you know. And we talked about it with my partner, you know, and how almost impossible it must be for a lot of those families, because they don't, you know, first of all, they don't know a whole lot in terms of that system, or how to go about it. You know, we went to Spirit, we prayed, you know, we reached out in that way, and we got direction on how we need to go about it. And I believe that's another reason we had to endure all that, so we know when the people come what we need to do and how we need to go about it and what we need to share with them.
My experience with CFS, it was real difficult. It's something I haven't since then really talked about with anybody, but it was overwhelming for me, emotionally especially, because they were taken away without any contact with me until later on I found out I had to go to court for. Instantly I got really angry with CFS, and I couldn't understand why couldn't any of my relations around here where they could be at home, why couldn't they been placed with them instead of taking however many hours away it was. I held some resentment and anger towards them for quite some time, and it was really hard to let go and forgive them. With this way of life that we have, and the tools and the gifts that we're given, that I've been given, I was able to release that anger in a healthy way, and where it's not gonna get myself or them in any more trouble. Not long with that faith, with the prayer, and with the work I've done, they were taken out of CFS care and placed back with us, and just with that, I think with other families knowing that there's another way of going about their problems that they have in their life, and knowing who they are, and knowing that there's a higher power that they could call on, that their problems or situations that they get in can be overcome in a good healthy way.
Because we had to experience what it's like to have your child whom you love so much and care so much for taken away, where you don't know what's happening with them. We know what that feels like now. So we will have compassion for those parents and those children that you're asking us to work with. You know, that's probably the reason it happened.
Each time we gather, on those dates that had been set up, we always put them through a pipe ceremony. We always do a doctrine using our rattles, our fans, and give them that doctrine that's needed before we do anything else, whether it be in the sweat lodge, whether it be a naming ceremony, whether it be a youth drum or on the land-based experience. All of those things, to us, we come to see and to understand that those things that were set up in that way are just names, that it's not going to be the way that's written on those papers, because it's a ceremony. And whatever needs to happen within that ceremony is what's going to take place. We don't question what they tell us, And when I talk about they, I'm talking about spirit. I'm talking about the grandfathers. I'm talking about the grandmothers. I'm talking about the Chibai, the family members that have gone on. I talk about that council, that guide us, that watch over us, that direct us on what we need to do. And leading that council now, is my sister-in-law, Little Turtle. She's the one that always comes. She was someone that was so special in our lives, that I can say that really helped us grow to become who we are now. Being who we are, we try to reflect those laws, those teachings that guide us, and try to reflect that in everything that we do. Anyone who comes, we don't treat them in any other way than the utmost respect, whether it's a young child, an elder, or whoever. And I think that's something that's so important, that we don't label anyone, because that does nothing for the individual. It doesn't help them move or to grow in any way when they're labeled as that troubled child, that damaged that damaged individual. That's something that shouldn't be. That we try not to do that. We take them and we put them through the ceremonies that they need, again by direction of spirit. We have a winter lodge there that that every 7 years I tried to build a new one, and then comes winter, the cold weather, we close it all in, and the sweat's in there. We have a fire in there, and we do our work out of there through the winter. Still maintaining that 7-day pace,
Tuition. There's spirit all around us. They teach us that the tree has a spirit, the rocks have a spirit, the grass have a spirit. Spirit is everywhere, and knows who you are, and that's who you sit with. It's with Creator and His creation. So, what better place to heal? That's Creator's. It's a way of life. It's not a program. It's a way of life given by Creator, given by Spirit.
And life is spiritual. Everything about life is spiritual. So, of course, the solution to that, it has to be a spiritual solution, not a political one, not a religious one, not an economy one. It is a spiritual solution is the answer.
And one girl in particular for me stands out, because I was told she was coming a week before, by one of the workers, and she had just become a young woman, had started her time, and she was doing strange things that were really bothering her foster parents. And so I had been praying for this young girl on how to help her. But in the end, when she came, there was no scolding or anything like that involved. It was all about embracing this young woman and honoring her now for, entering womanhood, honoring her for the role that she would play growing up as being, a mother, a teacher, and all of those good things that a woman brings to the home. And as I watched that little girl and I kept talking to her, do you understand? Do you understand? And she was, she did. And it was just about showing this little girl that she mattered, that she was important, and that there was people out there who cared about her, that were praying for her and wanted, her path to be cleared so that she could find people in her life that would love her and would be her family. But we told her that we were her new family.
I remember, not all that long ago, there was a young girl brought to us, and she was really having a hard time, and the worker that I just worked with her, didn't know what was happening or what was going on with her. So, they set it up and they brought her to one of the ceremonies. The grandmothers, the grandmothers are the ones that came and gave that direction and shared those teachings with this young girl, with what she was going through. That's really not for me to share, what they went through with her, but by the time that they were done, everything has changed for her. Everything was let go. Now today her work says there's just a complete turnaround for that young girl. And it was nothing more than doing that ceremony and sharing those teachings on what she was dealing with at that time. A lot of times, things can be that simple.
We had a young girl come here who was like high risk, and the people here that supported her showed her a lot of love and that they cared and loved her. And then her feeling that brings so much joy to my heart, that by including our young people early at age, knowing who they are, that you're not alone, we're all one big family, and that we can support them, and then they'll start feeling that need they have, or that emptiness will be filled with what they're really lacking is the cultural and the spiritual part. Come here to hear the drum, and then when you hear the drum, it just changes you because you're going back. You feel closer to your ancestors and that. So by bringing our families here and reuniting them and hoping, our goal is to reunite families, that they come together, and I think this is a big step.
Our primary objective was to foster that healing, because we know with that healing and those teachings and this way of life, you're able to face those challenges that everybody experiences in their life. Some really good work has happened. Those things are hard to measure. People's healing, it's hard to measure, and we can't speak on behalf of them. It's important that our community, our funders, hear their words, their truth.
I've been involved with CFS for 7 years. My kids have been in care for some time. When they first got involved, there was all dictatorship, no free will. It seems like all these different programs. I'm a strong believer in that because I've been through this. This is what our people need. And for my children growing up, my children having this chance to actually learn about who they are and identity that's been stripped away from me, my dad, my grandparents, and so on. Like, they never grew up around the drum. Now here's this chance. They're still in CFS care. They'll be coming home this summer. Like I said, it was a long wait. And when I was stuck in that dark for all drugs and alcohol, I didn't know no other way. How am I going to get out of this? Say if my kids drinking or whatever, and they had a taste of this life, this good life already, and they have, like, say, if they got lost, and then they can look back and say, how am I going to get out of this? Well, they already had that taste of that good life, that drum or whatever, that sweat lodge. Being a messed up parent and not having nothing to fall back, I don't know how to teach my kids anything. But they sit there and they get that chance to speak, and they were sharing circles and sharing stuff, The program here should have been a long time ago for it to happen all of it. It'd be nice to see something like this everywhere.
I wasn't a believer when I first came out, and it just opened my eyes and made me realize, like, everything I do is for my children, to make them stronger and become good little warriors as they get older, and to have that respect for the land and the animals that they all learned about.
I wanted to quit. 4 years later now, I'm someone who I never thought I would be, but I always felt I would be. And now I'm a warrior at heart. I always had that Aboriginal culture side about me, but
Bear from the north. I come from the White Wolf clan. My name is Jacinta Bear. I work with Peguis Child and Family Services in the Family Enhancement Program. Coming to the Sun Lodge has been an amazing experience. I work closely with the youth. One of the things that I keep telling them is that they need to understand where they come from to understand where they're going. I still remember the naming ceremony. A group of the youth and I came out, and it was their first time. They really weren't in a lodge before. They didn't know what to expect, and so we did the pipe ceremony, and as they were getting their names, they were feeling overwhelmed with emotion. Like, they love coming here. They, as soon as they know that we're coming to the lodge, their spirits are lightened. They're like little kids again. They're running around. They're walking on cloud 9 when they're leaving from here. And to just the sense that you feel when you're here. You feel safe. So they come once, and now they're coming every week. They keep coming back. And it also gives the parents an opportunity to meet their children here and have that opportunity to heal together, and see that light at the end of the tunnel get brighter and brighter, and to heal together.
Well, it means a lot. It makes me feel good when I come out. I was a little nervous at first because I heard some stories and it's gonna get really hot, but I just did it and it was pretty warm, yeah, but very felt spiritual at the same time. It really helped me. I don't know, I didn't know what to think going into it, but I was expecting to feel good afterwards because that's what I heard. And I did. I felt really good. And really, I don't know. Yeah, felt good. I knew my spirit name before I even got it. I don't know how, not the bear part, but I knew it had to do with fire for some reason. It's just always, my whole life, something was fire. So when I got my spirit name, it made sense to me. And it kind of helped me to identify myself, because I never really found myself. So it really helped with that a lot. I'm brave, I guess. I like to be brave, and I don't know, bears courage, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, I have a lot of courage, but I'm quiet sometimes, but when it comes down to it, I'm brave. Sometimes I'll have my stages where I'm just always inside for a week straight, but then I'll just go out and every day for 2 weeks straight. And then sometimes I'll hibernate or whatever. But yeah, actually it really helps you. And I encourage anybody to come, because once you face the fears, and even if it's not fear, if you're just nervous or you're just not sure, you should just do it anyways, because it'll definitely make you feel welcome and help you identify yourself, because that's what happened to me. It's helping me find myself.
I'm Spirit Woman, but my name is Siobhan. Spirit Woman, he told me when I got it that I was very connected to Mother Earth and myself, and in the sweat we prayed a lot, and then I just prayed really hard that something would happen for something to be good in our family, and something actually did happen. In a sweat, I remember seeing this man walking around, and then I brought it up to the elder, and he told me it was my grandma. Tried to communicate. She's been in there for a very long time, and she's never seen anything like I've seen in a sweat. I felt awesome. We were crying so much. It was so emotional. Well, because at that time I was going through so much, a lot of things. And one of the things he said just was so true to what was happening. And he said that I knew how to just focus on the positive things, even though I'm going through negative things. It just a couple days ago I was going through a hard thing. Then I just remembered that he told me to look at the positive no matter what.
I'm Blue Butterfly Woman, but my real name is Selena Finn. Well, I've lived in the city my whole life, and I only come to the Peguis once in a while, and learning about my culture is really interesting because I've never lived out here, and I don't live with my real parents, so no one actually taught me about my culture and how it works. So when I come out here, it's really interesting to finally learn my culture. Spending time with my friends and family, and also learning about all of the stories, listening to all the stories, because I learned a lot of new things that I haven't learned about before. The first time I went, it was really scary because I didn't know what was going to happen, and it looked the environment looked really new, and I didn't know why there was a fire or the blankets. It was holding my hand the whole time because it was my first time doing that. I went when I was little and I was singing wind, or I don't know, something like that. But when I was younger, I don't really remember how it worked. But then, when I came when I was older, I learned about what they did when I was little.
Yeah, I don't know what they're feeling, but to see that smile, to see that joy in them, to see that drive to find out more about themselves as a person and their identity from the creator, their names, their warrior names, their clan, that just finding out those things for them will help them in their journey to find themselves, to figure out who they are. When they first come to the lodge, they're shy and they're unaware of what they're walking into, but the minute they're there and they're in that present moment, it's like they feel joy, they feel happiness, they feel comfortable with themselves. And then that's when you start to see their spirit and who they are, and it starts to show. And then even being out on the land is another powerful thing. Being in the bush, being on Mother Earth, picking the flowers, picking the medicines, that too connects them. And all those different things is so powerful, and it can help them in so many ways that I can't explain.
Having the young people come, it'll really help them with the things that they're dealing with, and could already see it already when the kids do come, that they've been waiting for that day to come, and just feel that spirit and that energy that they have, that excitement in their eyes. The significance of the drum in the ceremony, it's the heartbeat of Mother Earth. It's what we hear before we even come into this world. It's a familiar sound that attracts everybody because we've heard it before, and it's a comforting, soothing sound, and it just brings that life. It makes your body want to move, brings your spirit up.
That's the heartbeat of our mother. And those young kids they remember hearing that in the womb of their mother. That's why it gets their attention.
It's almost everywhere at the powwows and even at the ceremonies. As soon as they hear the drum, it's like all the kids come and they want to be a part of that. And it's a really special feeling when you see the kids come, because I like to be around the drum with the kids to see their smiles, their laughters, and the energy that they give off when they're there.
It's cool. I just like going with the beat, and it calms me down.
All the youth that come here, and most of them probably not really sure why they're coming here. They're just here to receive their identity of who they really are, and and all these other teachings that just some of the teachings that that we learned when we were young. It'll help them. It'll help them so many ways. Just the name is so powerful.
As they feel a part of something, and that's a really good feeling for us singers to see that when the kids come and sit down, because we were once there.
They invited me to drum. And at first I was like, no, I'm good, but then she convinced me. So I went on the drum and I was actually doing really good, and people were complimenting me on the drum, so it felt good. Felt really good. I just felt I don't know, I felt in place, you know what I mean? I was meant to be a drummer or something like that. I don't know, some kind of feeling. It feels really good to interact with the culture and everything. I feel like I'm home, kind of.
Not only it'll help them, but help them with their families, you know, because obviously there's those struggles there when the children, you know, begin to, you know, show the parents and all that. That's something powerful.
Having the families and the children come, I think with all their participation and even if they don't participate, but their mere presence being there, it's gonna benefit, because the words and the teachings that are shared they're gonna stick. Maybe not up in here, but they're gonna stick down here, because the spirit is gonna recognize and remember those. And when something happens within the family that's maybe turning bad or ugly, that those teachings and things that they learned throughout those ceremonies that they've been in, they'll come to surface, and they'll begin to recognize and understand, and maybe.
Oh, my name's Rainbow Woman. I'm from the Wolf Clan. My warrior name is Blue Thunderbird Warrior. I'm just honored to be here, to hear all the teachings and the stories. Like, wow. I just wanted to cry, and made me happy. Like, there's people out there, like good people, positive, and want to do these things, like for the kids, for our people.
We're those warriors. We've always been doing what they've been guiding us to do, what they trained us to become in terms of who we are today. We want nothing better, nothing more than for our people to have the truth of what's missing and what has been missing, because we know it's going to turn everything around. Win, the truth. The truth is waiting. The truth is here. For who's in it for the truth, for who's in it for the children, for who's in it for the right reason, that'll all take care of itself. It's not going to be easy, because it's a full swing, a full change, a cycle that was hurting our people. It's going to change for the better, finally. It's way overdue, and our children are waiting. Our people are waiting. The world is waiting.
You're there to share, you're there to heal, and there are people here, you know, that are going to help you, and you're safe. And this is the safest place in the world where you could do your healing, you know, and heal from all that pain that you're carrying, and you could let it go here.
I really love where our agency is going. It's a good vision. All of it is good, and I'm just really excited to be part of that.
Our partnership with the Sun Lodge Village is very important if we really want to speak the truth about our healing and how we're going to heal as a people, as a nation. We know we needed to come to the lodge, and we know we need to bring our children here. The elders that we work with, that we've partnered with, have spent an average of 27 years learning those teachings. It's our elders in our community that are going to be there for that child, for that youth, for that family when the agency's gone. Having that child hear those teachings and knowing who they are, learning who they are as Anishinaabe, being proud of the many gifts that they have, being proud of our nation's ability. So there's much work that needs to be done. And we are going to take whatever steps we need to do to continue to foster that healing, to foster that reconciliation. Miigwech.
There was a comment she made, and it just kind of brought tears to my eyes, because eventually there would be no more CFS. And I think that's the most amazing thing ever.
Because this is the way we're going, right? We're not asking for permission. We're not asking for promoval. We're just telling you. This is what we're doing now, our way. So either join us or get out of the way, because it's gonna happen, whether you're with us or not, right? We have to. Right? We have to, because you just look at where our people are at, you know, incarceration, suicides, our children are lost, they don't know who they are. And
Before I finish, I wanted to acknowledge, and CFS and the board, and especially the Clement, and what she's doing and how she's going about it. That's something really unique, something really special. Like us, believe it came from somewhere else. That she was guided to start that process and bringing back, what our people have. She knows what she has to do, and through the support of staff, and they got to be behind her. It has to be that way, because if there's a weak link in there, then things are not going to go as smooth as they could. So that's why it's important for them to know, there's workers that work with those families and young people. They need to know the teachings. They need to know, that the individuals, that the children they're working with are the red people. And if they know those things, then they could better identify, what needs to be done for that child, what needs to be done for that family. Because it's important for those children to know that they are Anishinaabe, that they're a red person, to know their identity.
So we got lots of work, but it's exciting. As her grandmother said, I put you on an exciting road. She says, you wouldn't want to change anything that we put you through. And that's true. It's exciting. And also she told us we're on a beautiful road, and that road is love. There's such beauty ahead of us. Life can be so full and so happy. And yet, trying to make that happen, you could become frustrated, or you can become, discouraged, but that's not like that for us, because we know.
Many thanks to everyone involved in this project, and I only have good prayers, good thoughts for our people, and I want all those children to be with their parents in a healthy, happy home. That's all I want. Miguchi.